Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome back to Mastering the Drop, a real view of recovery, where my guests come on to share personal stories about their own journey in a life recovery fashion. And you know, we don't all have the same story. We are all unique individual beings, and we all have a different version of how the word recovery serves us. And that can be a very broad range, but I think it is so important that we see that recovery isn't just that piece of I need to remove this something from my life and recover from that, because that's, generally speaking, a very narrow perspective. There are so many things that we need to heal and recover from, whether that be traumatic experiences or death, or, you know, trauma. Oh, I said trauma already. But anyway, there are so many things that we need to recover from. And they aren't all catastrophic, and some are. Anyway, you know, Necole is not a stranger to this space. She's been here. She's talked a little bit about her story, and she shared all about her love and passion for what she does. But today she's here to share with us about her life recovery journey and what that looked like for her. And this is, of course, all in the efforts of us to just continue to spread the words of hope to others that there is, you know, there is life outside of struggle. Hi, Necole, welcome back.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for having me. I am happy to be back and to just share, and hope you're well.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I obviously know a lot of your story because I've known you now for, gosh, over a year.
Yeah, that's wild. It's true. Yeah.
Yeah. We met at the beginning of the pandemic.
We did.
Which means it's been closer to 3. Oh my gosh.
It's insane in the membrane when you think about it, but yes, that would be true.
Wow. So I know so much about your story, so I don't want to shortchange it by jumping in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
But absolutely want you to start from your own place of comfort. Yeah. But I think it is just so inspiring.
Oh, thank you. Well, for me, I would say that the main catalyst in my journey of like just dealing with a recovery of sorts was a car accident that I had. And the accident was, I think now it's like a little over 8 years now. So, you know, 8 years ago, I mean, physically, I was in such a different place. It was one of those freak accidents that you could have with a car accident. Wasn't much that I could do to evade it. It was a car going in the oncoming direction, flew over a meridian, hit me head on at 95 kilometers. I think the officers at the scene said that he flew 120 feet. His car caught on fire. It was on Twitter. It was a big deal, right? And so,
wow.
Yeah. And that took place, I should preface, on a Sunday morning before 9 a.m. It was only myself and that person on the road. And the way that this road was situated was, it was like a two-way roadway with a meridian in the middle. But then on my right side was like a back bike path, running path, and then the river. So when the car flew over, like there wasn't really anywhere that you could kind of go. I just kind of saw it happening, and I was like, this is happening. It felt like it was a movie because everything
I was gonna say, that sounds like it would have been just so surreal.
It was surreal. That's exactly what it was. What? Yeah, that's exactly all of those things. So I'm thankful that the injuries that I faced was what they call soft tissue injuries. But I should also preface that soft tissue injuries will last with you for a very long time. don't let it get it twisted, my friends. Even though, you know, I didn't have broken bones and all of that, I had bruising, I had like a nosebleed at the beginning and all that stuff, but soft tissue injuries does take a while. So when it, you know, one of the first things that I'm going to have to deal with, friends, is pain, because that is one of the major things that I felt, you know, the day of, and then of course, you know, every day thereafter. And
imagine that emotionally also,
God.
right? Like, I get it. They're, and I have these visions when I'm driving in certain spaces, and it drives me crazy because it's actually kind of a source of anxiety for me. But it's when, you know, there isn't an escape path. But so I would imagine that there was a lot of emotional struggle, you know, watching it happen,
Absolutely.
having nowhere to go,
Absolutely.
and then experiencing it, and then going to the hospital, and you know, that whole process.
Yeah. And on top of that whole process, I love how you included that emotional aspect of things, is that for me, we both went to the same hospital. So yeah, and so we were both in the hallway at the same time. So it was just a lot of emotions when you see the person that has now put you in this situation. Like, we were literally in the same bay, like he was in one
The same
room.
ER circle.
Yeah, ER circle. He was like in one room, I was in one room, but like we were only separated by like a curtain.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Oh, I have to ask more about that.
Yeah.
And if I'm opening anything,
Yeah,
you know, improper for this space, please do let me know. I'm not trying to provoke any, you know, negative feelings, but I mean, I was in a car accident, right? And to bring my own space in, I was T-boned one evening, right? Just somebody turning left as I'm going through, whatever, right? T-boned. I saw it happening. I probably not very smartly started to climb out of my seat because I had nowhere to go. Not smart. Don't recommend it. Your seatbelt will like hold you still a little bit, right? I started climbing out of the seat, but then, you know, when I got out of the car and I was like standing there, like that anger, that rage that boiled up, right? When he was just standing there, right? Like, was, you know, very negative. And I was only 18. And I remember, you know, I remember hearing him say, I don't have insurance. I just moved here. I don't have a job. And it's almost like an out-of-body experience, picked up his license plate and like frisbeed it at his head. But if you know me, I can't throw a frisbee to save my life. So it came nowhere near him. But you know, like that anger, that rage, like, oh my God, like I had just paid cash for the car, 18 years old. And I was like, right. So there's that, but so, you know, being separated by that curtain, like how was that? Like,
it was horrible. It was horrible in the sense that you got to hear how he spoke, and how the fact that like it wasn't his car, it was like a family member's car. He wasn't on insurance. He was young. He looked like he had just come back home from partying. And I was going to my former business because I was an entrepreneur at the time. So I was going to like a farmer's market, like, you know, this is my livelihood. You know, I have 3 younger kids at the time. Like, this is just not a good time for this to happen. And basically, like, I wasn't hearing any remorse. I think that's probably what irritated me the most, is that the way that he was speaking was that, you know, like he claimed that he fell asleep at the wheel, whatever, but
at 9 o'clock in the morning?
It didn't
Didn't sit very well.
It didn't sit very well. So that's when the first level of anger came to be. But I would say that the second level of anger, which almost turned to rage, was when we went to court. And that was a problem, because when we went to court, we even had witnesses that were there that showed up. And the officers, you know, at least one of them that was there showed up. And then I found out that he didn't have, like, they didn't take his ID. Like, there's just a lot of things that they didn't take from him. So he was able to act as though, like, he was trying to act like he wasn't even there. It was so irritating. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. And then he was only charged with hitting a city structure, which was the Meridian. And so then I was like, well, how do you hit the Meridian and then act like you weren't there? Like, how does that, you know, so there's just like a lot, it just turned into.
And how do you
Yeah.
how do you not acknowledge the hitting of your vehicle?
I know. It was really.
Was that then because the fault of nature?
It was just somebody not wanting to take responsibility and having.
Okay, like, I'm just wondering, did they blame it on the law of gravity, or?
I don't even remember what their reason was for
How
it.
devastating.
Yeah, it was. I would say that the person who was probably the most irritated was the person who was a witness that took their time and day to come out and come to this, and then to see like what happened. And it was like, wow. So you have that going on, plus then you have the trauma of being in an accident and not knowing, you know what I mean? Like what the outcome.
Like, how do you drive down the freeway at 9 o'clock in the morning and on a Sunday and not go,
right?
Like, so, you know, there's that healing, that recovery process from the trauma.